Bob Harrison.
Thank you, man. Oh, I love you. Love you. Yeah, thank you. Stay standing for just a moment. We're going to do something. Joel Osteen recently made a powerful statement. He said, God did not create you to be average. He created you for greatness. But to experience that greatness, you have to train yourself to speak faith-filled words. See, the Bible says death and life is in the power of our tongue. I don't think we realize the literal translation of death and life being in the power of our tongue. I shared yesterday at John Bevere's conference in Colorado Springs, and I shared how a pastor walked into my room where my dad was they'd already unplugged the life support system from, and they said he was gone, and that pastor spoke life, and my dad came back. That's the power that's in the words that we speak. Your words can kill a marriage. Your words can build up a marriage. Your words can give confidence to a child. Your words can give a child learning disabilities just by the words you speak. How many of you want to have increase? Am I in the right place? Then train yourself in spite of what you're experiencing, in spite of what you're feeling. Let your words lead you into an increased future. So let's do that right now. Let's create an environment of increase. Find 2 or 3 people around you and just say to them, I am ready for fresh increase. Say it again, like you mean it. Thank you. You can be seated. Some of you need to get another cup of coffee. Oh my goodness. For the last 2 years now, I've been traveling with America's #1 success seminar company. We did a seminar in Vancouver, and you wouldn't think there'd be that much difference between there and here, but I went to get coffee just before I was speaking. It was horrible. You know, Canadians maybe are good at tea, but not too good at coffee, at least not at this place. And I said, ma'am, this coffee is horrible. Your sign says, you know, it's blended. She said, yes, it's a blend of yesterday's and today's. But I said, but it tastes like dirt. She said, that's because it's fresh ground. But anyway, so it's good to be where we know how to appreciate coffee. I always look forward to being here. I look forward to being with you, but I particularly look forward to this couple. I love this couple. I love their reality. I love their joy. I love the vibrant. I just love being around them. I have traveled, my American airline card says 9 million miles for over 30 years, over 50 nations. And in all those meetings, this is the first Sunday I've ever been to where the pastor was the parking lot attendant. I think we should thank him. Yes. That is incredible. I've already posted it on Facebook. I think more pastors need to get out in the parking lots. Yeah. So it's just one of the things I love about them. And just so privileged to be with you, to be here today. Let me just quickly mention a couple things, and then I have a word to share with you on experiencing the next level and how do you do that. But first of all, if you're a leader and an achiever, we do a conference each year in Hawaii that is unlike anything out in the Christian marketplace. And it's different because it is geared for leaders. The speakers are geared for leaders. We do 4 to 7 speakers a day, and we're done at 1 o'clock. Because the strength of it is not just the speakers you hear, such as next year Jensen Franklin, John Bevere, Matthew Barnett, and business leaders from around the world. But the strength of it is what happens when we dismiss the meetings. And it's the idea exchanging and the fellowship with super achievers around the world. And so this next year, it's going to be in March. We're going to be at the Grand Wailea, one of the most beautiful resorts in the world. We've got the rooms for like half price. If you want information on it, you can go to increase.org, and we just invite you to come and join with us. Yeah. The second thing I want to mention to you is I love to collect unusual newspaper stories. And I came across this story of this man in the Bellevue, Seattle area that was frustrated. Because every day he was having this problem being caught in traffic. And so he got this idea. And he said, I'll get somebody to ride with me and I could go in the carpool lane. And so he tried to do that. He couldn't find anybody. He's good in the HOV lane. And so finally he said, I'm not going to put up with this traffic. He went and got a mannequin, dressed up the mannequin, put it in the passenger seat, and started driving in the HOV lane. And it worked until one day the police saw him and pulled him over. And turns out the driver was the dummy, because the reason the policeman pulled him over was that the passenger wasn't wearing a safety belt. But the reason I mention it to you is maybe you're driving around with a dummy in your car, and that's the reason you're not experiencing an increase. I don't mean your spouse. But my friend, the late Miles Monroe, said, my life changed when I converted my car into a mobile learning center. That time that you're taking, maybe listening to the news or listening to music or whatever it might be, what if you took that time and you invested it in your thinking? What might that do for you? How many hours would that be in a year? How could that transform your life? And so we have some resources out there. I'm not here for the purpose of selling resources. I'm here to change lives. But most of the people who come to our conference, most people whose lives have changed, they're people that have driven around with us. Now, just heard us in 30 minutes on a Sunday morning. So let me quick mention some specials to you that we have. If you're only going to get one series, it's a series Pastor just mentioned to you. We've updated it and redone it. It's called Great Multitude Lifestyle. It's how did Jesus change it from emptiness to great increase in 24 hours, and how you can experience that in your life. We have it in CD format for $69. We have it in the download card format for $49. Second thing I want to make you aware of is our book, PowerPoints for Increase, 101 Bible-Based Success Strategies. It's great. Leaders love it because every chapter is 2 pages. And we share 101 different strategies that you can use in your life that can cause increase. The book is $20. I'll be out there autographing it, but I'd recommend get the audio format. The audio format sells for $37. Every chapter is 4 minutes long. And so you can just in 4 minutes pick up one of these strategies. The audio book sells for $37, and we give the written book free if you buy the audio. And so that's our second special. And when I speak in the secular world, our number one seller is our School of Increase. It is 6 different seminars in the subject of increase: defense, abundance thinking, flourishing in life's desert seasons, time increase, breaking free financially, strategies for increase. It's 6 seminars. We give away deals. It's over $500 worth of product. And if you want that, that's available for $281 or 3 payments of $82. We take Visa, MasterCard, American Express, cash, check, and airline first class upgrades. I want to share with you today out of 1 Samuel, the 16th chapter, and you're all familiar with that story. But I want to go a little bit different direction with it today, because there's a truth hidden in that story that can revolutionize and change your life. I want to talk to you today about the power behind the Hebrew number 8. And if you understand that, how an understanding of that can change and transform your life. Melinda, would you mind handing me the shirt there? I think it helps with memory if they have a visualization. Thank you. I want you to notice that I'm using a Seahawks shirt. I can't tell you the booze I got when I did this in Pittsburgh, but anyway. In 1 Samuel, the 16th chapter, we find the story, and I'll just summarize the text. You can read it later on your own if you want, where God speaks to the prophet Samuel, and he says, I want you to go to the house of Jesse, and I want you to anoint one of Jesse's sons to be the next king of Israel. And this is the scene. The prophet arrives at the house. He immediately walks in. He sees Jesse. He sees the 7 sons. His sight immediately goes to the eldest son. He walks over him and he says, that's got to be the one. And he goes to anoint him to be the next king of Israel. And God says, stop. That's not the one. There's a truth here that I'm not going to take time in this service to talk about, but when at the luncheon, I'm going to come back to this. But I do want to say this. It is critically important that we aren't just looking for God to say go in his releasing voice, but we're just as sensitive to his stopping and his warning voice. Stop, don't do it. This is wrong. Stop, this can have negative consequences. And we've got to be tuned into both of those. Because look what would have happened if he hadn't been sensitive to stop. He would have anointed the wrong person to be the next king of Israel. History would have been rewritten because the Philistines would have had a battle with the tribe of Israel. David would have never fought Goliath. All because one person didn't recognize stop. So God says, no, that's not him. What do you do if you think you've got it put together? You think you've got the answer? And you go to activate it, and all of a sudden, no, that's not it. What do you do? That's where some people quit. They say, oh, my boss said this, or my teacher said this, or my spouse said this, or something. They let that become the interpreter of their life. But see, leaders have trained themselves to always try to have options and always look for other options. And so immediately when he senses God says no, he looks to see, oh, there are other options, and he realizes, oh, yes, I got 7 options in the room. If it's not the first one, it's probably the second one. So he goes to anoint the second one. No. The third one, no. The fourth, no. Fifth, no. Sixth, no. 7 no's. Now he's got a problem. Because, see, he has tried all the option he knows, and every option he has tried is a no. Now I ask you again, what do you do if every option you've tried is a no? Every banker says no. Every finance company says no. Every book publisher says no. Every employer says no. What do you do? Do you quit? Do you try again? Do you cry? Do you what do you do? Oh, and by the way, for the prophet, it was even more difficult than what I just laid out to you. Because, see, in the Hebrew language, numbers have word meanings. And the number 7 in the Hebrew language means completion. It means that's all there is. There's 7 days in a week. That's all there is. 7 colors in a rainbow. That's all there is. That's why Stephen Covey named his best-selling book, 7 Habits of Highly Productive People. He actually might have had 8 or 9. But he recognized that the Jewish people are the number 1 buyers of books, and so he said, they think 7 is all there is, so I'm going to make 7. So now the prophet has tried every option, and every option is a no. This is where so many people get stuck. And this is the reason why so many don't experience increase. Because, see, a person that's thinking increase doesn't accept no as no. They have a different mindset. And I personally believe that the prophet was an increased thinker. And the reason I believe that is because what came out of his mouth. If you want to find what somebody believes, listen to how they respond to stress, how they respond to fear, how they respond to sudden change. Because out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak. And in those times, they bypass their conscious and their subconscious speaks. That's why when my 4 daughters began to date, I made it a point not just to go out with a guy that seemed to drive a nice car and was, kind and considerate, but I wanted to see how that person responded in stress and fear. And so I created opportunities where we were around them in those things, because we needed to find out what are they really like, because they're going to live with that person. You date the conscious person, you live with the subconscious person. And so you need to find that out. But look what that prophet said. When faced with no, 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 he said, do you have another son? Is there a possibility that I don't know about? Is there an option I can't see? I see this. I see the 7 and the 7 are no, but what I want to know, is there a number 8? Because, see, he recognized that if there was a number 8, Number 8 in the Jewish language means transcending limitations, going beyond normal. Transcending limitations, going beyond normal. I see the limitations of the nose, but I want to know, might there be something I don't see? Yeah. And Jesse said, yes, there is another answer, another option. I have another son. He's my son David. He's not here. He's outstanding in the field. And they went and brought David into the room. And when David came into the room, God said, that's him. Anoint him to be king. 3 things I just want to deposit into your life from this story this morning that I think can make a difference. The first of all, I want you to recognize, where did we find the number 8? We didn't find the answer. We didn't find the number 8 in the room full of no's. We had to leave the room full of no's in order to find the number 8. See, some of us are in a situation of negativity. We have people telling us why it can't be done, why we can't do it. We have maybe some of our own past negative beliefs telling us why we can't. We failed before, and we hear no, 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 no. And we're trying to find our yes in the middle of all those no's. But sometimes we have to purpose to leave those no's, to get out of those no's. And so maybe it's a physical thing. Maybe we need to take a break from the negativity. Maybe we need to separate ourselves from some friends around that have been speaking doubt and disbelief to us, and find some people that will affirm us and believe in us. Maybe we need to make physical change. That's why our Hawaii event is so great. It's not the teachers, it's not even the interaction that takes place. It's getting the people out of their normal surroundings and put them in a beautiful resort and surrounded by super achievers that are cheap, that great things are happening to in life. And all of a sudden in that new environment, they start hearing God. And they start getting answers and strategies and meeting, having new relationships. Yeah. So maybe it's a physical thing that we have to move out. But I think more than that, it's a mental thing. We have to recognize that we have to take ourselves out of that negative environment and just start believing that the greater one lives in us, that he supplies all of our needs according to our riches and glory. Which leads me to point number 2. David was out in the field. The answer they were looking for existed the entire time that they were in the room full of no's. So when they're hearing and seeing no's and challenged to believe that there is no way, their answer was already there. See, I believe if I have a financial need in my life, that money I need already exists. If I have a relationship need in my life, that relationship already exists. If I have an advice need, a strategy I need, that idea, that strategy already exists. If I have healing that I need in my body, that healing already exists. It doesn't have to be created, it just has to be grabbed and accepted. So, what's the key then? The key is we leave our arena of negativity. We go out and we find that yes that's already there. So they had to go outside of physical walls. They left the room and they went out to the field. But see, our problem most of the time is the invisible wall. We live, we think, we believe, we expect in the realm of this room that's made up of an invisible wall, a wall of fear, a wall of feeling out of place, a wall of discomfort, an invisible wall. I don't know if you realize how powerful invisible walls are. I was driving out to my son's place. He lives out in Snoqualmie. And I passed this sign because I went this particular time, instead of on the freeway, I was going on one of the 2-lane roads, back roads up there. And there was a sign out there with a picture of a dog, and it said invisible fence. And I did some research on it because this was new to me. And what it is you can order this invisible fence. It's 4 transponders. You put them on poles. They send out a signal that you put a collar on the dog, and if the dog gets near that invisible fence, it electrifies us. It doesn't kill him, but it creates discomfort. And he pulls back, and they guarantee that the invisible fence will keep your dog in the yard as effectively as you build a chain link fence. By the way, it said it came with a money-back guarantee. And I thought, you open up the box, if it's invisible, how do you know you got it? And how do you send it back? But anyway. But see, we have that invisible fence. And we're trying to find our answer in the invisible fence, and our answer might not be there. But if we'll learn to break through fear, break through discomfort, recognize that on the other side could be our yes, then our life takes on a whole different dimension. So number 1, we have to recognize we have this invisible fence. And sometimes we have to go outside of it because our answer already exists. Yeah. And when we believe that, it'll empower us to go through the temporary discomfort, to find that answer, to believe and to grab it and bring it into our life. And then the third point I want you to catch is this. There's 7 no's in the room. There's 1 yes out in the field. They didn't have to find 8 yeses to overcome the power of 7 no's. Right. When 1 yes came into the room, every one of those no's lost their power. Wow. You don't need 8 answers to 7 problems. You only need 1 answer. And when that answer comes, all the problems lose their power. And that's what I'm believing for you today. Yeah. I want to challenge you in these next 6 months to grab the prayer of Jabez. Lord, enlarge my territory. Yeah. Start breaking out and believing God for new things. Start having new dreams. Start saying, I'm not going to accept the limitations I've had. Yeah. That's why I went whitewater rafting for the first time in my life 2 days ago and watched the boat in front of me lose everybody into the rapids, because I said, I've got to expand my thinking. I've got to expand what I am. I've got to become bigger. Because when I do, I increase my world. Yeah. Because see, initially you're going out and you're expanding the walls and you're pushing those walls out like Jabez talked. But if you keep pushing the walls out, pretty soon that number 8 that was outside your walls, that number 8 lives with you. And now your life takes on a whole different dimension. And that's what I'm believing for you today. This is your year. Your year of a new yes showing up in your life. A new year in that relationship, in that strategy, in the finances, in the spiritual walk, and whatever it is, I'm believing this is your year. How many will grab a hold of that? Yes. Let's say this together. Father, I come to you today, and I thank you for your word. And your word clearly shows you want me to increase. But Lord, I realize sometimes I have to be like the fisherman in Luke 5. I have to go out and do it again differently. But when I do that, I am believing for my yes. And I thank you and I praise you for that. I believe it's going to happen. Amen. Turn to 2 or 3 around you and say, I believe it's happening.